Hi, my name is Rivka Sofia Saray Reyes Becerra. I'm a 5th grade student from the area of arts, and today I'm presenting English 4 with Miss Mayra. And well, date from today it's Thursday, September 17, from 2020. So we'll begin with simple past. We use simple past when we talk about situations that already happened in the past and they have nothing to do in the present, that they are already over. Regular verbs and irregular verbs. This is something that you have to learn because there's not even a rule for this. But here we have some. And the only thing that makes the difference is when you have regular verbs, it's when you just add like ed at the end of the word. And when you're talking about irregular verbs, it's when you have to change the whole word. For the positive form, we use this rule that it's the subject, then the principal verb, and then the complement. You can use regular or irregular verbs as you want. An example is cook. It's one of the regular verbs, so we just add ed. Planted is a regular verb, so we just add ed. So we use it in the past, and drank, it's an irregular verb. So that's why we use drunk instead of drink. If we want to say something in a negative way, we're going to use a different rule. We use did. That's why it changes, because it's an auxiliary verb. The rule is the subject, the auxiliary verb, we add not a principal verb, and then the complement. When we talk in a negative way, the principal verb, it doesn't change. It stays on present, because it would be wrong if we use did and the verb in a negative way, both within the same sentence. First example. When we're talking about questions, we do the same as we did when we're talking in a negative way. So we use did and the principal verb stays in present. Our grammar rule for questions, it will be the auxiliary verb, the subject, the principal verb, and the complement. We're having some examples about that too. We'll start to talk about first and second conditional. When we use the first conditional, it's used when you're talking about actions and reactions. If you do something, something will happen. We're gonna use this rule. If subject, simple present, and the comma, this is very important, then we use subject, will, and infinitive verb. We divide this in condition and result. If we want to change that, we are going to take out the comma, we're going to put the result in the beginning and the condition at the end. But the only thing that changes is if we take out the comma. We go into the examples. If we use the result in the beginning, it will be he will get a promotion if he works hard. And the last example of this, when we talk in a positive way with the first conditional, we use, and the structure is basically the same, but we use not. An example of this, it could be, we use don't and won't. For the questions in the first conditional, we use this rule. The question word, will, subject, verb, if, subject, and again the verb and the complement. Some examples, the second conditional. We use the second conditional when we talk about fantasies or things that maybe won't happen. The rule that we're gonna use is this one. If, subject, simple past, then we use the comma, subject again, would, could, or might, and then we use the infinitive verb and a complement. It's the same if we use the result in the first part and the condition in the second one, we just take out the comma. An example in a positive way is, for the negative form, we use the result in the beginning and we used wouldn't or might not or couldn't. An example could be, and questions, the only thing that we change is would and the subject, we invert them. An example, it could be, Then we come with past perfect. It's when the actions were in the past, but they still have a meaning in the present. The grammar is simple. Subject, have or has, the verb and participle, and a complement. And if we want to use it in a negative way, we just add not. And in question, we use has, subject, the verb, and the complement. Examples in positive. And in a negative form, it could be. And for the questions, it could be. In this part, we use the past participle. In present, the verb is eat. In past, is ate. And in participle, it's 18. So now we're going with time expressions. These expressions are used when we talk in present perfect. So we're going with already, yet, since, and for. We use for when we talk about the time that someone has been doing something. An example, it could be, she has lived there for many years. We continue with since. We use since when we talk about when the action began. Like, I haven't seen her since 2004. We use already when we talk about that something, it happened. When we use it like in affirmative form. Like, we have already sold our table. And then we're talking about yet. Yet we use it in negative and in interrogative sentences. Are you done yet? It's like when we want to say that something it's already finished or already done. Adverbs of quantity. These adverbs give some quantity information to the verb, another adjective or an adverb. In an example, it would be we have any, that it's the parallel of some. We use it in a negative form and in question forms. We have hardly, you did it, but it takes too much effort to do it. Adverbs of grade or grade adverbs. They tell us about the intensity of an action, adverb, or an adjective. We put them before the adjective of the verb. We have enough, to, and very. The examples of. Then we have to, that it's to plus infinitive. And then we have very, to infinity and ing. Infinitive is the most basic way that we can have a verb. We always use to before the infinitive. It's the one that it makes it have sense. Examples. As a subject, when I propose, for express a reason, the grammar is subject, verb to be, to, nominal phrase, verb in infinitive. We can also use infinitive to describe some commentaries, but we have to use another grammar for this. Subject, verb to be, nominal phrase, verb in infinitive. And now we continue with gerund or ing. But what is this? Gerund is the ing version of a verb that functions as the same way as the noun. We also have the 5 ways to use the gerund. The subject, like, and then we have it as a complement to the verb to be. Examples. The hardest thing about learning English is. And then we'll use it after prepositions. After phrasal verbs, we use verb, preposition, or adverb. Examples. When will you give up smoking? There are some phrasal verbs that include to as preposition. In compound nouns, it's clear that the meaning is that of a noun, not a continuous verb. We use like an example, a swimming pool. It's a pool for swimming in, not a pool that it's swimming. Examples. Plural nouns. We use them to talk about people, things, places. Oh, the words are in singular, but in some cases we just have to add s. Examples. But we also have some irregular nouns. We also have some nouns that they are always in plural, so we don't have to change anything. Like these ones. Nouns have rules. When the noun ends with these letters, but when the letters end in O, we have 2 choices. If it ends in Y, we have two possibilities. And then we continue with collective nouns. The collective nouns are singular nouns that design a group. The verb can go in plural or singular. Perfect future. We use perfect future to talk about actions that will be ended before another. I'll have finished my studies before I start my new job. Second rule, to show that something will continue until another action happens in the future. Next week, I'll have lived in Germany for a year. In grammar, in the positive way, we have this rule. Now we continue with the negative form. With the interrogative way. Simple future real. We basically use it for describing actions that will happen in the future. The positive way in grammar says, in the negative way. And now for simple questions. And now we're using WH questions. And now present progressive is used for actions going on the moment of speaking, and for actions taking place in a really short piece of time. It's also used to express actions arranged for the new future. Rules. For the verbs that end in E, we remove the E and put ing. Move, moving. The verbs that end in IE, we're going to replace them with Y and then ing. For the verbs that their last syllable ends with consonant, vowel, consonant, and it's stressed, we'll double the last letter and put ing. In the affirmative way, we have these examples. He's dancing ballet. On the negative way, you're not swimming in the pool. And in questions, are you swimming in the pool? Is he? Relative pronouns. They are words that connect phrases to sentences. And when we use it, we start making relative clauses. They are complements. The relative clauses, we use them for giving information about a person, object that was previously mentioned. We have two kinds of relative clauses. Now we continue with quantifiers. We use them when we want to express an indeterminate amount of something. We have two kinds of modal verbs. We use modals when we believe that something could be certain, possible or impossible. We also use them to talk about abilities or something that we can do. Ask him for permission may request an offers.